We're gonna burn it down. Burn it down. We're gonna burn it down. Burn it down.
Hey, beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great, and welcome to Budget Builds, where we use zero Forma and achieve maximum efficiency. In today's video, we're taking a closer look at Garuda, aka the vampire of Warframe. But before I continue with the video any further, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys would like to support me on the channel any further, remember to leave a like, and also don't forget to Spartan hit the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams. But before I continue even further, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about what exactly is Budget Build. So this is a video playlist that practically built my channel, where I show you guys exactly how you can go and play as any Warframe. Make sure that any Warframe is viable for practically anything without the use of any Forma whatsoever. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get this video on the road, shall we? Before I give you guys the build for Garuda, we first need to learn exactly on how she works. So starting off with her passive, basically Garuda does gain a temporary increase to her damage, and these damage will then increase ever so slightly for every enemy that you do kill. However, this damage does cap out at 100%. And of course, if you guys do not have a melee weapon equipped, then Garuda by default will then go and use her talents. Trust me, her talents are very powerful and you should definitely go and try them out. Next up for our number one ability is we have something called Dread Mirror, and basically Garuda will then jump on or pounce onto an enemy, and then what will happen is that she'll then rip the life force from that enemy. What also does work is not only will you then be able to regenerate your health, but also Garuda will then go and store up this damage, and then she can go and use them as later on. Of course, her Dread Mirror can then be charged up, and then you can go and throw this charged up bomb into the area, therefore dealing a nuclear explosion, or a blood bomb from what I like to refer to it as. Now, one thing is great is you can basically go and infinitely stack. So the more amount of enemies that you decide to go and rip the life force, the greater your multiplier will be. So the more damage you capture, the greater your multiplier will then go and be. And of course, if you guys are happy with the amount of damage you have, then you can practically just go and let go of this. You can go and charge Dread Mirror by holding down your number one key. Of course, the longer you guys go and charge this ability, the more energy it is going to go and take from you. Next up is we have an ability called Blood Altar, and this basically allows you to go and impale any enemies within the area. Therefore, when your enemies have been impaled, she'll then be able to go and drain the life force from them, therefore creating a zone of healing energy, or zone of killing energy, just like how Vazarin currently is. Not Vazarin, generic. So when you guys go and do so, you'll basically then go and create this whole circle. If you guys and your allies are within this circle, you'll then go and regenerate your health. Next up is we do have another ability called Bloodletting, and just like Harrow, Garuda will then go and slash herself by gaining herself an increase in rare fire and continuous healing. Bloodletting will then allow you to go and replenish your energy. However, the one downside to Bloodletting is you're basically sacrificing your health in order to go and get yourself more energy. But don't worry about Bloodletting, because Blood Altar will then go and help you out. And of course, you can go and use a pool called Vazarin, which will then allow you to go and heal yourself at will. So what you can do is dash into yourself, therefore you've got the invincibility frames and continuous healing, and then go and spam Blood Altar or Bloodletting twice, therefore you guys do have your full energy maxed out. Next up is we do have her ult, or that being her signature ability, which is called Seeking Talents. Now, as the description does say, what happens is Garuda will then unleash her talents across a designated area. The more range you have, the greater the area of effect will be. And of course, this will then go and kill a whole bunch of enemies. Any surviving targets will then give them a massive amount of slash blocks. But with this particular build, I didn't really use Seeking Talents too much, just because I didn't really see too much of a need to do so. However, if you guys are going to be using the talents, which you are going to be with the Blood Bomb build, you'll then be able to go and take out your enemies relatively easy, because as you guys know, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a spoiler here. Seeking Talents, or Garuda's talents, will then take full advantage of Condition Overload. And of course, you'll be able to go and decimate those armored enemies without worrying about too much damage to yourself whatsoever. So here's the build for Garuda, and as you guys can see, we haven't added any Forma whatsoever because this wouldn't be an episode of budget builds. Now, as you guys can tell from the stats, we are going to be prioritizing strength and range, and we've left efficiency and duration at a neutral state. Now, don't worry too much about efficiency just because of the fact that we've got an ability called bloodletting, which will allow us to go and, sacrifice our health, in exchange for energy. Now, duration, don't worry about that too much because you can go and spam all of these abilities and you don't have to worry about duration whatsoever. So you can go and refresh this and you'll be 100%. And of course, we do have an ability called Blood Altar, which will then allow us to go and replenish our lost health from bloodletting. I hope that makes sense. So, as you guys can see, we have Growing Power, Orchid Secrets, Power Drift, and Intensify for more power strength. The more power strength we have, not only will it make our lives so much easier when it comes to charging up the Blood Bomb, but also it will make our Blood Altar a lot more potent. In other words, Blood Bomb will then be able to be charged a lot quicker, therefore you don't have to worry about taking too much hits before charging it. And of course, we do have Blood Altar, which will then be a lot more potent. The more power strength you guys have, the much higher your health per second will be. And of course, I don't think there is too much of a limit on how many enemies you can impale at once, but I believe it's at least 4 or 5 enemies you can go and impale. Therefore, you've got like 4 or 5 zones that are continuously healing. And of course, I do recommend you guys go and pop on Vazarin specifically. You want Vazarin's Protective Dash, which will allow you to go and heal yourself if you guys are going up against any of the Steel Path enemies. Next up is we've got ourselves Cunning Drift, Auger Reach, and of course Stretch for much more range. Now listen, we want more range because A, our Blood Bomb must reach a much bigger area, and also B, we want to make sure that our Blood Altar has a much bigger zone of effect. Now listen, when you guys are playing as Garuda, you are going to be using your talents because like I said previously, her talents are very, very, very powerful. And I mean, you have to go and get up close and personal, and while you guys are attacking the enemies, other enemies from around you will start shooting you. Therefore, you're going to be taking on a lot of damage. So why not have Blood Altar working in your favor? Go and attack those enemies. Make sure that you guys are within your Blood Altar. Therefore, you can go and have always be healed. And of course, we got ourselves Vitality for a much bigger survivability, but also it makes ourselves so much easier to go and get more energy back from the more health we do sacrifice. Redirection for more survivability. You guys have been living under a rock. Basically, what happens is that we have this thing called shield gating, where if your shields do get entirely erased, what is going to happen is you're going to be given a couple of seconds of invulnerability, therefore allowing you to run away and recuperate and continue fighting. And of course, we do have Prime Flow, therefore we can go and charge the Blood Bomb to much bigger levels of damage. And of course, we do not want to go and affect or put any form of restriction onto our energy economy whatsoever. And as for the Arcane's department, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is entirely up for you, but I purely went with Arcane Strike and Arcane Fury. Strike, therefore we have a much faster attack speed for our talents, and of course Fury for more damage for our talents. Now remember, every time you guys go and kill an enemy with your talent, not only is it going to add to your passive, but also it is going to add to your Blood Bomb's damage, because remember, you have to go and rip a certain amount of damage from or life force from the enemy. The more life force you go and rip out and the more life force you have saved in, the much bigger your multiplier will be. And of course, every time you go and kill an enemy, that damage that you went and killed the enemy will then be added to your stored up damage. So as for our build for talents, this is going to be the exact same build for every other melee build out there. So we've got ourselves Prime Pressure Point for our base damage, Blood Rush, and of course Sacrificial Steel, therefore we can crit off of our base damage. Organ Shatter, because we are going to be dealing with crits, therefore why not see much bigger critical numbers. Gladiator Vice and Gladiator Rush, not for their original intended bonus, but because of their mod set bonus. So as you guys can see, Gladiator set bonus gives us 10% additional critical chance for every combo multiplier that we have. In other words, you guys are going to be increasing your crits even further. And of course, standard issue, we are going to be adding Condition Overload. Therefore, we can deal even more damage on top of every single status proc that's affecting the target. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for today's video. If you guys have liked it or it's helped you guys out in any way or form, remember to leave a like, and also don't forget to spot and click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams. I'm make like a banana and split.